I was born in 1972. When my dad was in high school, he's an All-American football player. He got a full scholarship to SMU. He got homesick, hurt his knee, so he ended up coming home, getting married, and started working for the Texas Highway Department. He got hit by a semi-truck, but he's such a big guy that he didn't break any bones in his body, but he has pretty severe head damage and was in a coma for about 8 weeks. When he came to from the coma, he just had these really crazy fits of rage. Like, it took about 12 people to hold him down, leather strapped him down, and I don't know how much longer he's in the hospital, but it never went away. My mom said the guy that went in the hospital was different than the guy that I brought home. If a commercial was too long in the middle of a TV show I was watching, he would throw a couch end over end. He never laid a finger on my mom, but he would break things that were very important to her. And so she eventually left.
Hey.
Mama? Mama? Where's Mama?
She's gone.
Gone where?
She ran off. She ain't coming back. Just you and me now.
When will she be back?
I told you she run off. She don't want me no more, and she don't want you neither.
Back then, whoever left, they were kind of to blame. Family around them kind of were like, we think the boy should stay in the hometown with the rest of the family. They still saw my dad as a stable option. I tend to believe she kind of got bullied into leaving us. At this point, my dad had never been abusive towards me, and so no one really had reason to think that was going to happen. But the second that she moved away and something changed, and it was a scary childhood, to say the least.
Are you bowing up on me, boy?
You hurt her, didn't you? You hurt her like you hurt me!
Hey! Nothing! That's what I did! Nothing! She didn't leave because of me.
Most of my life was living in fear that when it's so sporadic, you don't know what's going to set him off. You become scared of everything. If he had a bad day, he'd take it out on me. If someone would cut him off in traffic, he would take a swing at me. If my dad was embarrassed in public by someone, we'd get home, he'd take it out on me. Anything would set him off, and I was just his punching bag is what it felt like. I made the honor roll or something like that. They sent home a piece of paper that I was so scared to have him sign anything that I forged the honor roll thing to say, yeah, he saw it. Well, the teachers, they told my dad, said, can you believe he'd do that? It's a good thing. But he just signed it anyway. We just wanted you to know, well, he was embarrassed that I would sign it and beat me to a pulp. If he would spank me for doing something wrong, the spankings became incredibly violent. I remember one night where my back of my neck to the back of my knees were like a dark purple all the way down every inch of my body. And he saw what he did to me, and it's the first time I ever saw him cry. He ran out of the room. It was almost something he couldn't control. Part of me knew there would be about a 30 minutes to an hour window, then he would call me in there and like set me on his lap and tell me how sorry he was. He always did it. I knew that if I could get through the beating, that I would see some sort of affection from my dad. And that was the only time I'd ever see it. I know of specific times to where I'd literally did things to get in trouble because I knew the point would come to where, he would love on me and say, "I'm so sorry," which was the greatest thing ever. I remember following my brother to a party, and some guy walks through and says, "Hey," he had a bottle of Scope mouthwash and said, "I'll pay somebody $20 if they could drink the whole bottle." Of course, I'm 7th grade. I'm like, "It's mouthwash. It can't kill you. They wouldn't let you put it in your mouth, so it might make you sick, but I'll take $20. So I did it. So I drank the whole bottle of Scope and passed out immediately. Found out it was Everclear and peppermint schnapps. Should have killed me. And so me and my 2 or 3 other buddies tried to walk home. As we're walking, one of the guys' dads happens to drive through town and drives right by us. Well, he lets me sleep it off at his house. And the next morning, he's like, "Are you gonna tell your dad or do I need to?" We got to the house and I thought this is gonna be the worst of them all. My dad said, "Do whatever, I don't care anymore." And when he said that, he meant it. I could leave the house for 4 days and he would never look for me. I could do whatever I wanted to. At first, it's kind of like, hey, this is kind of cool, I'm safe, but then you're incredibly alone, and it was devastating.
Shannon, please stay.
Why? Afraid of the dark? Afraid of monsters?
I just don't like being alone.
The things that I went through definitely were a springboard into the beginning of my relationship with Christ. I was so drawn to the gospel because of my situation. To hear someone say, "He'll never leave you, he adores you." And you're telling me that there's someone that approves of me the way that I am and that did all this stuff for me, had me in mind, that's unheard of. There were multiple times where I'd come forward, whether it's Vacation Bible School or camp. I'd get saved every Sunday if they'd let me, just because I was just desperate for it. Even though I was drawn to it, my response to it was, I've got to do all this stuff to please God. He's going to walk out on me. He's going to be disappointed with me. And sometimes you start thinking, wait, God's not much different than my dad. It's like, oh wait, no, he is, but my response is the same. It becomes very works-based, that if I'm good enough, the good outweighs the bad, and God's okay with me. My whole career up until probably 5-6 years ago was, I'm doing all of this stuff because surely now God's okay with me. Surely this will count. I'd rather stand in front of 10,000 people than one-on-one because, one, they can't talk back. And I can stand there and tell them all the things, not that's wrong with them, but how much God adores them, but struggle with applying it to myself. It's really easy for me to talk about how much God loves you to avoid the issues that I deal with daily. And it's really easy to feel good about yourself while you're doing it. A dear friend of mine, he came into my life and was like, hey man, I don't know if you realize this, but there's nothing you can do to make Christ love you any more than he already does right now. You've worked so hard at whatever you're trying to run from or gain, whatever it is. What if he adores you now? What if our true identity is, I'm a child of the risen King who will wrestle with the flesh. I will win some and lose some, but it can't change how Christ sees me because the cross was actually enough. What if it has nothing to do with what I do? What if my identity is not wrapped up in the things that I do, but what the cross has already done? It's just a crazy concept, but I will tell you that all of a sudden, what we've called the good news for our whole life actually sounds like good news now. Because what happens is the mystery of sin begins to shrink, because I think we spend too much time trying to please God instead of trust him. When we truly trust that he's not going anywhere, especially for me, and that he still adores me on worst day, the worst days start to get further and further apart. I'm a dad of 5 kids now, and what I didn't expect is how many fathers I meet now that may have daddy issues from the past, but now they're kind of following suit in some ways and don't know how to kind of break the cycle. The way I deal with my kids, sometimes it reminds me of the way my dad would. I've never beat my kids, nothing like that, but the short fuse and and little things getting to me and agitated. The hardest part for me is to stop and say I was wrong and apologize. It's harder to be the gospel in our home more than any other place in the world because they see the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. For me, it's just somehow swallowing my pride and realizing I was never meant to do this on my own. I've kind of learned what it means to hide the word in my heart and set my mind on things above and find myself hiding in the word. And I rely on community so much because isolation is a struggle for me. And just being able to confess this stuff to dear friends of mine, to other godly men, let there be some type of healing to take place. If I ever stop voicing the things I'm struggling with, I'm in trouble because I've been there. I go to like this men's small group. Somebody asked about our relationships with our dads, and I was like, oh, I totally got this. I'm knocking this out of the park. No one can outdo me. And then this other guy's over here going, man, my dad is my best friend in the whole world. You know, good for you. But for him, he's lived his life trying to meet that standard of an amazing dad. So either way, we're both in counseling trying to figure out who we are under the shadow of our Father, great or not so great. And it all comes down to understanding who we are as individuals in Christ and not just trying to live up to a lot of times self-imposed standard. There's always a moment where you got to figure out, who am I? What separates me from my dad? What do I embrace that my dad gave me? And so, and it's a journey. There's always room for growth. We'll get it wrong a lot of times. We'll get it right. But I think the most beautiful thing is we can't screw this up. Like I can screw things up and I do it well and all the time, but I can't screw this up. And man, to actually live like that is incredibly liberating.